Sean Myers joined by Greensburg Central Catholic Centurions boys basketball coach Christian Hyland for the matchup in the States against the Jeanette Jayhawks. And first off, Christian, thank you for doing this as always. I've had a chance to talk to you quite a bit. That means you're having a really good season, and that continued with a first-round victory in the state playoffs. But before we get to the state tournament, I want to go back a couple weeks now and talk about the WPAL championship game, a lopsided loss against Aliquippa. I know that's not the way that you or any of the players hoped that game would go, but what was your message to the team afterwards, and what was the team's mindset after a game like that?
I think one of the things that we talked about, it's hard when you're doing press and stuff after, but when we got together for a little bit that Saturday and then the following couple of days of practice was we didn't play well. I mean, there's no secret about it. They played extremely well, shot the ball extremely well. But we did some things and kind of shot ourselves in the foot a little bit early. And when you get behind a team like that has the athletes and the skill that they do, it's tough to come back from. And I think they made it difficult. Like I said, playing extremely well. But I talked to the guys, and they had a good attitude about let's move forward, let's learn from it. But there's still a lot of season ahead of us. So no, it was a long grind of practice for 3 or 4 days. To get to Saturday and take on Wimber. But, winning changes a lot of things. So we got the W on Saturday, and it was good for our guys.
Now, I was doing that game against Aliquippa with Greg Bizignani, the former Greensburg Central Catholic coach, and he referenced, I believe, when maybe you were a freshman, GCC kind of got blown out by Monessen in a WPIAL championship game, but there was a quick bounce back. You were able to make a run through the states, including knocking off the Greyhounds later in the state playoffs, and then made it all the way to a state championship game. When you think back to your playing days, or maybe even earlier in your coaching career, can you reference something like that and say, this is a bad loss, but we now have another opportunity, and Centurions teams have done stuff like this before?
I would say exactly what Coach Biz said, and that's the lopsided loss that we had to Monessen at the Palumbo Center. Again, just a game that we didn't play well. The other team played extremely well. And, the guys have an opportunity to do that once again, and, get back to the Western Final and maybe see Aliquippa or another team and kind of move forward and, hopefully get back to that state championship. But there's a lot of work to be done before we do that. So, we're worried about the Jayhawks.
Well, it started with Wimber, as you mentioned. And so when you play an opponent that you're not very familiar with, how important is it that your team gets off to a good start and that you're not playing from behind against an unfamiliar opponent? And what did you like about your team's start?
It's definitely important, especially when you're just not familiar with, a different district, and some of the things that they do. Their style is normally a little bit different. So we changed our starting lineup up a bit for that game, and just wanted to get out and go early. And I thought we were able to do that. We didn't play as a coach would prefer, throughout the game, but we only gave up 13 points in the first half, so it was hard to complain about that. And the offense took us a little bit to get going, but second half we kind of were able to pull away.
I know when you were wrapping up, or I guess it was after your first playoff game in the WPIAL portion, you played at home, you won convincingly. And I know we talked to some of the guys and said, you get to finish on your home court undefeated. Little did we know that you'd be playing again on your home court. So now I think it's safe to say you are done playing at home. But getting that home game, how important was that to get your fans there and to give the guys a familiar confine?
It was definitely important for us, especially the way that the previous game had gone against Aliquippa. It was just nice and comfortable for our guys to be playing at home, to see some familiar faces and get back to the things that we do well. So it was nice to play one more home game and send the seniors out with an undefeated season at home.
Now, I know you talked about how good your defense was in the first half. I think the Jeanette Jayhawks could say the same for their performance in the opening round of the state playoffs. Really, both your teams were dominant on that end in the first half, and that proved to be the difference in your game and in their game. When you look at them and maybe where they are now compared to the last time you saw them, what stands out?
Well, they're young, and especially early on when they get everyone together, it might not happen as quick as they want to. But look at them now; they're in the state playoffs in the second round. They've gotten better each time that I've seen them. They have some really talented basketball players, and they're very well coached. And anytime you see a Jeanette team, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, they're going to play hard. So I've tried to mention that to our guys. It's really hard to beat a team three times in one year. And they're not just going to lay down. And I know, and they know that they don't like us. And that's what a rivalry is all about. So, we're looking forward to it, but we gotta, respect the fact that they've gotten better throughout the year.
Rarely at this point of the season our team's going to make drastic changes. You can tinker and kind of make a small change here and there. The fact that you beat them twice already in pretty convincing fashion in the regular season, do you keep things kind of the same in terms of your game plan against them? And conversely, do you expect them to show much of a different look as opposed to the first two meetings?
I'm sure, on our end and their end that things will, you know, be tinkered with a little bit. We've played against each other so many times over the past 5 years that I've been here, but even previous to that, a lot of things are still similar, even 10 years ago. But I think each time, there's great coaches on both sides. So they're going to come up with a great game plan. We're going to try to do the same. So like you said, there's not much you can tinker with, but there's just little hidden changes here and there on different coverages. How you might add a set or two, or switch up the defensive game plan just a little bit to throw them off. So you know, who knows? We'll try and change a couple things. I'm sure that they did that hurt us the previous two times, and I'm sure they'll try and do the same.
And finally, what are the biggest keys to victory against Jeanette?
I would say one of the big things that we have to do is handle their transition game. They have a couple guards that are just lightning fast, are really good around the rim, and then we're going to have to control the boards. I think we have a little bit of a height advantage, but they're scrappy and they're going to play hard. So you can't just take that for granted either. They're going to get in there, they're going to battle. So those would be the two big things that I would say.
Well, you said the word battle. It always seems like it's a battle when it's Jeanette and Greensburg Central Catholic, regardless of the sport. And we love it here, certainly with our coverage at the Westmoreland Sports Network. Christian, thank you so much for doing this. Congrats on the playoff victory last time out and good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.